Hello, this is Cuckoo, and I'm in Korg's booth at Superbooth 2023. And I'm right here with a software developer from Sinevibes. You're only one person running Sinevibes, or are you? Several?
Technically, one person running Sinevibes, but I have a developer, Stephen from the UK, who's assisting me quite a bit. He's more involved with the Mac and Windows side of things. Korg is kind of like pretty much like 95% my work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although some of Stephen's DSP is also included
Yeah.
here and there, but yeah, mostly the Korg stuff. The Korg stuff is mostly just my work. Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to see how far you've come. Last time I spoke to you was several years ago, and then you were doing. I think it was when they actually launched the whole SDK for the log series. Was it that early, or like
I
pretty
think
early on?
it was. I don't think the min. It was 4 years ago. I only remember that the focus was the prologue back then.
Yeah.
The NTS1 was only introduced
Oh,
at Superbooth 2019.
Yeah.
Was just like the fresh thing. It wasn't even on sale until like August or September, so it was pretty new. I don't remember if the Minlog XD was. I think the Minlog XD came like half a year after that. So
Yeah.
we basically we only had the flagship,
Yeah.
the prologue.
Yeah, that's right.
At that time, we were introducing our third plugin,
Yeah.
and fast forward to today, we have 24.
Yeah. So this is big. So this is one of your main things that you work with.
It's been quite a trip. I honestly, I still cannot fully, I don't know, grasp just how positive the reaction of the core community has been, and we were pushing that platform further, which was people were seeing the stuff that was possible with these machines as we were introducing more and more advanced oscillators and effects, and in the end, people that didn't yet have the instruments were really attracted to them, and they were buying them, and so the user base was growing like kind of twofold. We were promoting Korg, Korg was promoting us, so that kind of feedback loop just went crazy. It's amazing. I'm really grateful. Really, I'm speaking to my users right now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The support is incredible. Everybody's so positive about giving us feedback and using our stuff. It's just I'm very grateful to be in this community.
And for me, when I heard about the possibility to create your own plugins for these platforms, that's like that. Oh, all right, this is gonna be a long-standing platform, and seeing how Korg has introduced this sentiment on many of their new machines, it's super cool for me. Like the new drum log also has some of that, right?
Yeah, it's like a. I'm not sure how Korg is calling this, but it's not really a second generation platform, but it's different. So it's a different SDK, which has a slightly different approach to handling the synth engine. Um, like a quick recap of the platform. Um, we have on the Minlog XD Prolog and NTS1, which is like the original, as log SDK. We have a digital oscillator that's kind of part of the whole voice. It goes into a filter, an amp envelope. It can be modulated with the LFO or envelope generator. So it's kind of part of the main synth engine of the unit, regardless of whether it's the NTS1, which is fully digital, or the Minlog XD and the Prolog, which are part analog, part digital. However, on the drum log, the synth engine is actually a self-contained synth engine. So it's basically getting MIDI data, raw MIDI data now, and you're handling note management yourself, and you can do way more. You can make more decisions of how to handle all that. which is really incredible. And the cool thing is, we used to be limited to only 8 parameters on the previous platform. The drum log allows to set up to 24 parameters for the synth engine. So there's way more stuff you can expose to the user to modify, which is really, really fantastic. Yeah.
Wow, that's super cool. So with all of that, can you reach into it with a MIDI controller, for instance? Yeah. Wow.
You can.
Sick.
So you can actually plug in a MIDI controller, not just via MIDI, but also via USB directly.
Yeah.
I believe it can even power some of the controllers. They don't require too much power, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's pretty much like a. If you want to, you can treat it as a synth module.
Yeah.
Just forget the drum machine part, and just play the synth plugin as a plugin, and it has 3 effects that you can send it through. And generally, it's a much more powerful CPU here.
Yeah.
So we're only starting out to see what it can do. But I think the future engines will be way more powerful than before.
Yeah.
Especially, for instance, with the new plugin that we're testing, which we will talk about a little later.
Yeah.
It's actually using a lot of RAM that simply wasn't available here. So I'm able
cool.
to use like an additive wavetable synthesis here, which uses like around 8 or 10 megabytes of memory to load all of the wavetables, which was absolutely not possible. We had like, I believe, like 16 kilobytes or something, which is nothing. However, I would say that we did. I think we nicely maxed out this platform, and I think I will show you the craziest thing that we've ever done. I believe.
Yeah, do it.
It's
Curious to hear.
It's the oscillator model called Groove, which is not really an oscillator. It's a self-contained bass, drum and percussion synth.
Sick.
So,
all in one oscillator.
So
slot.
the cool thing about it is basically depending on the key you press, it's either a bass sound, a kick, a snare, or like a percussive clap-ish sound, toms, closed and open hi-hat, and a percussion sound. And with the parameters of the synth available here in the editor, you actually pick. So you pick the sound for every zone.
Wow.
So there are a total of 7 zones. You can pick the kick, the bass and the kick. We have 92 sounds available in here. Probably more could be added, but we'll see, because we're constantly running out of the available plugin memory. And I'm trying to optimize the code so that there's like a few bytes available. Maybe a couple sounds can be included. But some of the stuff is pretty awesome, actually. Some of them are a bit cheesy, but still we're really pushing this thing to the limit. And I mean, it's a so
like this is only on the Midlog XD, and there's no drum machine on the side or anything. Like this, when the Midlog XD when it launched, nobody could foresee that this would be possible. This is like super cool.
Yeah, it's a very.
And this is only possible with the power of making it possible for external developers to make stuff. That's so cool.
Yeah, one of the cool things that we also added in this hybrid drum machine bass machine engine is variable trigger probability per zone. So there is no parameter for it, but if you choose even numbers for if you start with odd numbers for the presets, they trigger all the time. But the even ones are the same as the odd, but with 50% trigger probability. So you can have a pattern that runs all the time, but now you can enable 50% chance of triggering on all zones. Maybe not on the kick and not on the snare, but on the rest.
And just for a reminder, we've been listening to more or less just the pure oscillator, and then comes all the filters like it's doing now, and then afterwards the effects.
Yeah, it's I'm only showing a single oscillator going through the analog filter.
But
envelope modulation. That's it. But we still have the 2 VCOs and 3 effects.
Yeah.
So
could you slap on like one of your crazy effects onto this?
of course, yeah. Okay, start with the beat depth reduction and sample reduction.
It's so cool to have all of this possible with just a Minilog thing.
It's like a playground, really, not just a synth or a drum machine hybrid, whatever. With this plugin, it's just endless fun. Yeah, I think 95% of the time that I've spent with this plugin myself was just fiddling around. I couldn't even record anything for a demo because I was so hooked to just having fun for no reason. Yeah. So that's kind of the extreme, I would say, use of the platform.
Yeah.
It's very unusual. It's not for everybody. Not everybody wants this kind of a engine. And we also have quite a few really breakthrough engines that we released afterwards.
Yeah.
So Groove actually was released 3 years ago. Yeah. 2 years ago we released Node, which is a 4 operator FM engine. Not too dissimilar to what you would find, let's say, in a Yamaha DX100. Obviously with way less parameters, but we tried to make it very easy to use so that you can still have access to individual operator ratios, feedback, mod depth. There are multiple modulation waveforms available, like the envelopes and LFOs and random, shapes as well. And it's it can do really properly beautiful. It can do proper FM stuff, what I can tell you. And because we're using an analog style filter for oversampling, so it's 2 times oversampled here, with anti-aliasing is still here. It has a state variable filter for aliasing suppression, which is quite unusual, but it gives it kind of a rounded, warm character. Actually, it sounds way less cold than typical, FM engines do. So yeah, although it can do a lot of
razor sharp stuff too.
Yeah, it can do very standard stuff that you would expect. As well as the very, very the sound that you've never heard before.
synth sound.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty amazing actually that if you think of it, that's a 4-voice, 4-operator synth.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not even using anything in this stock engine.
Yeah.
So
Cool. I'm really curious about what you've done with the drum log because it's a new platform. Maybe it's taken a bit of getting used to, and also I'm not familiar with the platform, so I'm really curious to know where it's open for community like platform. Where you can basically where can you put your stuff in the drum log? It's a drum machine in the log family.
yeah.
But as you said, it's a kind of a newer platform, more powerful chip, and
One cool thing that Korg has added in the latest update is you can double tap the mute button and it goes into mute latch mode. So you can now use these as mutes without having to hold another button. So yeah, we start with the drum machine. So it has 4 analog voices, 6 sample-based voices, which you can hear now. But we also have a multi-engine synth here. So it's not an oscillator anymore, like in the old, in the previous generation. It is now a full-blown synth engine, like I said, with way more parameters, way more CPU power, as well as your own way of handling MIDI data. Yeah.
is there one slot for custom user? Yeah.
It's a single track that can run a custom engine.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, according to Korg, as opposed to the previous platform, which was limited to 16 user oscillators which could be installed on the unit, this is limited to the user space, which is 32 megs. And I can tell you, for instance, that the nano engine that's included in here, it's something around 15 or 20 kilobytes. Yeah. So technically, you could install hundreds of synths in here, which is incredible. So you are limited to single track. Yeah. And Korg insists that it should be treated as a bonus, yeah, because it's a drum machine first, yeah, and it has a synth as an add-on. So it's not a work. Don't treat it as a workstation or something like, yeah, that. No MIDI file playback, no karaoke functions here, sadly.
But if it's this powerful, maybe you can actually make a karaoke function.
Yeah. So there are 3 built-in engines here. The VPM engine, which is like a 2-operator FM engine, similar to what's been a stock feature over here on the Minilock XD, and the other, sister products. So a noise generator, which is like a more basic thing with multiple noise types and a filter to shape it. And then the user slot, which by default from the factory comes with Sinevibes Nano.
Nice.
Which is a monophonic virtual analog engine. And actually, just this week, we've announced an upcoming update for it. So Nano is a dual oscillator engine with, it used to have 3 filter types: low pass, high pass, band pass. We're adding a notch filter. The original version used to have a single distortion type, then we added second one. In the update, we're adding 3 more. It will have 5 distortion types.
On the synth?
Yeah. On the synth itself. Yeah. So the cool part is you don't need a separate effect plugin for it. The distortion algorithms are in the synth itself. And since they are in the sound chain, the distortion is applied after the filter before the amp envelope.
Okay.
The amp envelope still shapes the whole sound, which allows you to, let's say, more easily make it work with the kick drum and the snare drum, for instance, so that you can adjust some attack and the bass is kind of side chained against the kick, so they don't interfere that much with each other.
So the user plugin can listen to what's going on in the rest of the synth?
No. What I mean is the envelope allows for very nice shaping of the attack and the decay, as opposed to when you place a distortion plugin after the synth. The envelope it kind of gets shaped together with the whole sound. And here having it inside the synth is way more flexible. So I'm super excited to show you some other patterns we have here.
Pretty much the kind of synth sound is coming from the user.
Yeah. That's Nano, and it's running the new distortion called Crush, which is a combination of beat crushing and hard clipping. And it's a very powerful distortion sound. So yeah, it's just it can sound like a warm analog synth. Or like an angry one. Just a few patterns I've prepared. Yeah.
Nice.
The cool thing is it actually has the sequencer is pretty advanced, so you have variable trigger probability on every step. So if you go into step edit mode, you can see here that there is a probability parameter per step. There is an alteration condition here available at the same time with the probability, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
So it various modes. Once on the first bar of 2, on the first bar of 3, or second, third time. This basic stuff that's pretty common nowadays. And so forth. So you can program quite advanced sequences here. And one cool thing is when you use it together with motion sequencing, the variable trigger probability allows you to have kind of these legato slides when the note is not triggered, but the motion sequence still changes the note, so it ends up sliding. This pattern demonstrates that very nicely. So if we just mute everything and just leave the user oscillator running Nano with motion sequencing of the pitch, but with a variable trigger probability on every step. You can hear these slides when the note is not triggered, but the motion sequence is still changing the pitch.
On the drum log, can you also create user master effects?
Yes. So continuing into other features of the plugin architecture, we can have user master effects, user delay effects, and user reverb effects.
Oh, wow.
And the amazing thing is they also have up to 24 parameters that you can let the user adjust.
Wow.
Which is quite an upgrade from just 2 or 3 on the old devices. So we actually plan to explore this and maybe do a master effect that will actually be a multi-effect. So several different effects that you can use on the master bus, maybe a combination of filtering, lo-fi, maybe a noise generator to kind of like a coloring effect, for the final sound. So, but yeah, it's Nano is going to be a very nice default engine over here, but we also have another one that we will be introducing soon. It's called Femto.
Oh,
So we're
cool.
kind of using these names. Uh, 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 we named it because it's kind of related to Nano, because it's also a monosynth, but the concept is more similar to classic monosynths like, for instance, SH101 or Dreadbox Hades, which is a like a single oscillator plus a sub. But over here, the single oscillator actually runs two oscillators with a phase offset, and you can modulate the phase offset to create PWM, pulse modulation, as well as do wave shaping. That's pretty cool, actually. Kind of like detuning and wave shaping at the same time. And it's a different, like I mentioned before, it's a different oscillator technology to Nano, because it uses additive style wavetables, and it's completely alias free. It's a very warm and rounded sound, and yeah, we're trying to make the best of this technology to make Femto like a very good pair with Nano, so it sounds different.
Cool. Let me hear it. In development.
So it's gonna sound more like a beefy analog synth, way more than Nano can. It also has distortion, or it's rather it's I would say it's more like a saturation algorithm, which you can take to the extreme. So it's more like initially it beefs the sound up, makes it more like super powerful and punchy. Um,
But I think for like the untapped potential, I mean the user slot is very cool, and of course you start there. But I think the master effects, it's gonna do wonders for this machine in particular.
yeah.
Like you could do like master limiters that distort in cool ways. You can go wonky with stereo and
Yes, exactly. And you can actually, there's a sidechain input in the master effect.
Oh, nice.
And you can define whether which track go to the sidechain. So you can technically do pretty amazing stuff. Because the sidechain is not just from compression, you can use it to trigger an envelope generator.
Can you sequence the master track?
You mean the motion sequencer? Actually, I was wondering the same thing yesterday. I haven't tried to go into motion and just a sec. Let me.
Exploring uncharted territory.
So,
Yeah.
because if I in motion it defaults to the synth.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
in
see.
sequence effects. Maybe this is something that Korg can look into later on. I didn't see a problem with doing that, because it's not it's a separate thing. It's not interfering with any of the voices. But we'll see what happens.
It's so. I mean, if it's so powerful, then you can really dial in really custom, crazy stuff on the master buses.
There's a pattern that I did just yesterday as a tribute to one person that you know.
Hear it. I like it.
Yeah, but it's actually using the Nano engine, which I think Florian needs to re-explore with with the update.
Yeah.
So, but Finto is also, you know, it has.
And all of your stuff is available through your website, Sinevibes.com. And as you work closely with Korg, some of the stuff that you do is actually default plugins.
Yeah. So, and let's do a quick outro jam.
Yeah, outro jam coming up.
It's Berlin after all, right?
Thank you for presentation and for the cool jams and for all the work you do for both, you know, as a creator of plugins, but for the community. I think you're a beacon of light in this log community, to be honest.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for this for coming for this video shoot. It's an honor to be showing this to you, first and foremost, to you personally, and to all of your viewers. And once again, really big thanks to Korg for developing, you know, giving us this power as users, and big shout out to the Korg community for supporting what we do. Thanks so much.
Cool, thank you.